question about Bowen that I get asked probably most or more than anything else is how to explain it. And this is the question, obviously it comes from therapists. How do you explain Bowen and what it is and how it works? Because Bowen is a bit unusual, because it's a bit different, sometimes it's quite hard to get your head around. And one of the features of Bowen is that we will leave the room in between each set of moves. We'll do something and then we'll leave the room. And there's another reason for that. And I'll talk about that in a different video. But essentially what I'm always going to say to people, whenever anybody's asking you, what is Bowen, the question is, who is asking me and what is it they need to know? So I go by this initialism, which is WIIFM. And most people operate along those lines of what's in it for me. That makes it sound very selfish, but let me give you an example. So your car is making a clunking noise and you take it to the mechanic and you say, what's wrong with my car? And he starts to explain to you that the overhead sprocket of the flange, which is letting the fuel injection air filter, I have no idea. And he starts to explain this to you, and that's not really what you want to know. What you want to know is, how much can you fix it? How much is it going to cost me, and how long is it going to take? And those are the things that we really want to understand. The same thing goes when somebody's talking to us and we need to look at them and say, well, who is this person? If you've got somebody sitting there and they say, what is this Bowen? You might just go, well, it's something that we work on for people that have neck pain. And they go, oh, I've got neck pain. And hey presto, you suddenly got a connection. And depending on where you are, how much information do you have to give out? How much are you trying to persuade somebody in terms of believing what it is that you're doing? But the actual treatment itself, the procedure itself, is doing virtually nothing in the session that we're having. And I'm going to say the same, that's the same for any treatment. But the way that I explain Bowen is this, is that we have our central nervous system, which is giving us information and it's taking information to the brain. The brain then interprets that and sends information back out into the body. And we also have our autonomic nervous system, which is made up of primarily our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system. But the two don't always see eye to eye. Sometimes the brain is sending out information which is interpreted, or sending out pain signals which aren't really needed. They're just not needed. There's no damage. There's no requirement for that pain to be there. But of course it's interpreted into the body as pain or an aching or a restriction and so on and so forth. A lot of that's going to be coming around belief systems and things that we hold on to ourselves for. So essentially my way of saying what Bowen is that it's a sort of the marriage guidance counsellor between the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system. We don't ever know exactly what is wrong when somebody comes into us and presents to us with X, Y, or Z pain. We can never be sure where that's coming from. And so therefore what we're going to say is, well, here is some information, here is some sensory information going to the brain. The brain can then decide whether it needs to continue putting out those signals that it has been doing for however long it's been doing for, or whether it can change that. We work on particularly stress loading points of the body. So when we talk about things like our stoppers, these are areas where there's lots of loading, lots of stress, and lots of functions going in, lots of different muscles, fibers, lots and lots of things happening. They are centralized areas, what I call function junctions. So we're going to be working on those, lots of information, everything that's coming together there is going to have an individual pathway to this centralized, incredibly complex brain that can deal with all this information, and then we step away and let the body work out what it's doing itself. And so really it's not for us to interfere with pain. If it's needed, it's needed. If it's not, it's not. It's to say to the body, this is what's going on. Do you want to talk to each other about it? Do you want us to switch things off, turn things around? Do you want to maybe stop behaving in the way that you have been? Sometimes we find that people change their behavior, even subconsciously. So we're not interrupting with any particular idea of a condition. We don't treat conditions. If you see anybody that's designing protocols around a migraine or a certain pain, then they just haven't got the idea of what Bowen is. You forget it. Bowen is not a series of procedures or a series of protocols. It's a system of body work. There aren't any advanced procedures. You can't be an advanced Bowen therapist. It's not possible. Instead, what we're trying to do is to develop the understanding of what any individual needs, and we're using Bowen as that tool to do that. So there we go, marriage guidance counselor between, a counselor or a negotiator between autonomic nervous system and central nervous system, getting them to think along the same pathways and trying to, get them to agree with each other. That's my quickest explanation that I could do in the time it takes from the elevator or lift to go up however many floors. So that's the elevator pitch, if you like. But anyway, what do you think? Any questions you've got, please put them down in the box below. Check out my online bowen.com for Bowen therapists to give you lots more background information, lots more detail and theory, and lots of videos that go on there as well. So thanks very much. See you next time.